All right, with that, I am going to call to order our meeting for December 9th, or December 8th, the Planning and Zoning Commission and Local Planning Agency. We'll start off with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. We will be offering the members, foragers will be doing our pledge tonight. If everybody please rise. Heavenly Father, we ask a blessing on all of our citizens. We ask you that you keep everybody healthy, Lord. Those that do have COVID, get them healthy soon. Those that are out there working to keep us with everything, keep them safe. We ask a blessing on all of our first responders. Keep them safe as they go about the job of trying to keep us safe. Give us the wisdom to make good decisions tonight to pass on to our commission. And the other, as always, Lord, we ask that wherever our military are in the world, keep them safe and bring them home to us. We ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And with that, we will turn it over to the clerk for a roll call, please.
Chair Keller.
Present.
Vice Chair Lomnack.
Here.
Member Mellon.
Here.
Member Forges.
Here.
Member Williams.
Present.
Alternate Member Lowe.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. With that way, we'll move on to the agenda. First item of business is the consent agenda, minutes of last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Member Mellon, second by Vice Chair Lomnick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, that carries. We have no old business, so that's going to move us right into the new business. And first item on the agenda is the Campos property. This public hearing. It's going to be it'll have two votes. It'll be an annexation and a rezoning. And with that, we will turn that over to Member Hines,
Okay.
to Planner Hines.
So the first property we have for annexation today is the Campos property. It's located at 511 Whittier Avenue. This is just a location map of the area. It's located just north of Silver Star Road and south of Center Street. So that's the general area where it's located at. The parcel is 0.18 acres in size, and it's going to be annexing into the city to eliminate an enclave. This is just the area view of the property, just showing you more. It's currently vacant right now. It is eligible to annex into the city because it touches city on the west side, on the east side, right here. So it is eligible, and when it annexed in, it's going to be annexing in from a R1 Orange County single family to City of Ocoee R1 single family. And when it went to the DRC, staff and the DRC both recommended to not only rezone it, but to also annex that. So it's going to be changes to recommend a change it from R1 single family to R1 single family for the City of Ocoee.
Okay.
And if you have any question, I can answer that, but this is just showing you how this is all low density residential, so it will be in line with the surrounding area.
Okay, so we'll bring it back up to the dais. Any questions from anyone? Hearing none, we will, I guess, ask if there are any questions from the, anybody from the owners need to speak at this time or anything? No? All right, hearing none, we will open the public hearing. And we give everybody a chance to call in if they have any questions. Let me read the public hearing announcement because we've changed it just slightly. City Hall is open to the public. However, attendance inside the commission chambers may be limited to accommodate social distancing and is subject to the governor's executive orders. Any interested party may be heard during the public hearings tonight. Please call 407-554-7118 or email citizens@ocoee.org with any comments and/or questions. Comments and questions received via the email will be filed with the clerk's office and become part of the public record. And with that, we will give it a minute or so to see if anybody calls in. Put the glasses on so I can see the clock in the back.
Hey, Joel?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you announce for anyone that has something on one of the other ones to go ahead and call in now or let that known now?
Okay, yeah, we can do that as well. If you are going to call in on any of the other items on the agenda, I believe we have the, and I hope I pronounced this properly, the Guerrero property, the Arden Park North, and Montessori Schools are the other 3 items that are on the agenda tonight. So if you're interested, you may want to call in. Again, that number, if you're calling, is 407-554-7118, or emailing it at citizens@ocoee.org. And we don't have anything, so I'll just
No
double check.
emails or telephone calls
All
were
right,
received.
so we have no telephone or email for this. With that, I'm going to bring it back up to the dais and ask, we need two approvals. The first one is for an annexation, and the second one is going to be a rezoning. So can I get a motion for the annexation?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the annexation of project number AX 112096.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Lomnick. We have a second by Member Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. That gets us to number B on the, or item B on the,
Got the
oh,
rezoning.
the rezoning, and I even told you we had 2 of them. Yeah, then that gets us to the rezoning, so we need a motion to rezone.
So, oh, go ahead.
I make a motion to rezone project RZ 2011-15.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have motion by Member Forges, a second by Vice Chair Lomnick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and with that, we'll move to item B, the Guerrero property, and once again, we'll turn it over to Planner Hines.
Okay, the next property we have is the Guerrero property. It's located at 1411 North Lakewood Avenue. This is where the property is located. It's located directly off of Lakewood Avenue, just north of Worst Road, which you see here, and a little bit south of 13th Avenue. The property is 0.17 acres in size, and it's also is annexing into the city of Ocoee in order to eliminate an enclave and also for water connection. This is just an area view of the property, just showing you where it's located. And there's actually a new home that was recently constructed on there. It is eligible to annex because it does touches the city on the north side. You see here where we have the property there, which is R1. And currently it is R2, Orange County, which is single family, and we're gonna be proposing to rezone that to R1 single family for Ocoee, and that's keeping in line with this area. This is just a future land use, just showing you that all the surrounding area here, as you can see, is low density residential, so it will be keeping in line with that. And when it went to the DRC, they did recommend unanimously to rezone this from Orange County R2 single family to City of Ocoee R1 single family, and staff also recommend approval of this rezoning. And if you have any other question, I can answer those.
All right, with that, we'll bring it back to the dais. Anyone from the dais with any questions? Hearing none, ask anything for the applicants. Hearing none, we'll move with opening the public hearing. And again, that number, if you want to call in, 407-554-7118, or email at citizens@ocoee.org. give it a minute and we'll, no, okay, no calls, so with that,
Yeah, no emails or telephone calls were received.
all right, so with that, we will bring it back to the dais. Once again, we do need two votes, one for an annexation, one for rezoning, so we'll start with a motion for the annexation.
I'll make that motion. I make a motion to recommend the annexation of project number AX 112095.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion by Member Mellon, a second by Member Forges. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. All right. And that gets us to the second one. I'm actually going to remember that we need to do a rezoning this time. So can we get a motion for a rezoning?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve rezoning project RZ 2011-14.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Lomnick, a second by Member Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. That gets us down to item C, which is the Arden Park North Phase 6. And this is a large-scale preliminary final subdivision plan, and this is Director Rummer.
Thank you. This is the Arden Park Phase 6. This is the last phase of Arden Park, which includes Arden Park South on the south side of Ocoee and Arden Park North on the north side of Ocoee. It was approved as a residential plan unit development in the early 2000s, and we are seeing the fruition of the city of Ocoee, the popularity with single-family homes, and the eventual build-out of this plan unit development. It was approved for over 800 homes. It'll come in with Phase 6 well under the maximum allotment of homes. And also do want to say that on Thursday, December 10th, at I believe 10 a.m., we will be having a ribbon cutting of the Clark Road extension from Ocoee up to McCormick Road. And that was a responsibility of the extension of 4 different developments. Kensington Manor made a small improvement from McCormick to just past its entrance. McCormick Reserve constructed from that point to the southern property line to Arden Park. And Arden Park, the Oak Trail Reserve built the first 2 lanes of the Clark Road extension from Ocoee up to its entrance. And then Arden Park finished a 4-lane section and the rest of the 2 lanes. Those were all done without impact fee credits. There'll be a little portion for Phase 6 based off the Phase 6 in the plan unit development was approved for single-family homes or a possible future school if the school board turned down obtaining that property, which they did. And we amended the plan to include the 67 lots of Phase 6 in the beginning of this year. And now we're bringing forward the preliminary and final subdivision plan for that. So this is the area. You have Phase 5 on the south side, and on the west side is Phase 4A and 4B. The Clark Road extension to the east. The project will have 2 lot sizes within the 67 lots. It will access internally to the subdivision. You can see this is a highlight of the tract, the 67 lots with open space around it. All the lots are A drainage. Along with Phase 5, there was a second entrance off of the Clark Road extension, which will be opening as such on Thursday. So this is really a no-frills last phase of Arden Park. The subdivision. If you get a chance, it's really worth the drive. It's got the subdivision as a whole has a trail around Lake Sims. It has extensive trails and open space usable with rolling hills and equipment throughout. It's a really nice addition, and we're really pleased with how the subdivision has turned out. And Clark Road is really neat drive, seeing the elevation changes on Clark Road. This is a preliminary and final subdivision plan. We are recommending approval subject to finalization of staff comments. The engineer, Ben Beckham with Madden Engineering, is here. And we also have waiting to be called, if need be, representatives from Lennar. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
All right. Any,
I got a question, only because we weren't on the board at the time, but I noticed this was approved by the city in November 21st, 2006, and it was amended February 19th, 2013. Do you know what it was amended to, or what the changes were?
The initial amendment for Arden Park, the original concept was public roads with multiple access points, because you had public roads sort of like a subdivision like where you live. That was amended when Standard Pacific came in to make the roads private, make it a gated subdivision. And that closed the entrance off of Ingram Road. It was amended and for the school, the phase 6, with the removal of the possibility of the school, with the school board providing a letter stating they were not going to purchase the property. And that's all the amendments.
That works, thanks.
And you said the PUD was supposed to have 800 homes in phase 6?
With all the phases.
With all the
yes,
phases
yes,
combined?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And with this addition of 67, how many homes will they have total in that PUD?
I had that in when we rezoned it beginning of this year. I don't know, and if that table's in this plan. But it's about at least 35 shy, I believe, of the maximum number. The PUD had a maximum number of lots and lot ranges, and this meets within that matrix for the lot sizes. The bulk of the 80s are in Arden Park South along Lake Meadow.
So, Mr. Chair, oh, I'm sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
This is more of a out of curiosity question. It's regarding the HOA. Is the HOA broken up into phases and then it has a master, or is it all one HOA? I'm just curious how they're being represented in terms of the wishes of the community or concerns of the community. I was just interested how
Yeah.
that was being
Right.
handled.
Well, first off, the requirement of the city, because the roads and infrastructure are private, that there is an association, and those association documents are looked at by the city attorney just to make sure anything that has public infrastructure is described in those documents if they need to maintain it based off an approval. Otherwise, there's no requirements of how an HOA operates. What I believe is the fact is there's a master HOA, and then there's one for the south and one for the north.
Okay,
The
that's what I
development
was
is
trying to
one
figure out.
development as whole. It's Arden Park PUD. It was just on two sides of the road. You see many developments like that, so. But from what I've heard, there's a master, then there's one for south, and there's a HOA for the north.
Okay, I just was wondering how they were being represented. And do you by any chance know whether that both or any of them have been turned over from the developer to the actual HOA?
I don't know. I
You
just
don't know that
No,
much?
from my
Okay.
experience, the developer always holds like 1,000 votes per lot, so they
Yeah.
can trump even until they get to a certain percentage, like 90.
Right, I just wasn't sure what phase they were in
Yes.
at this point.
I know we're dealing with, Lennar is the HOA on the north.
Okay,
I've been to a meeting with the HOA representative there. And so probably there's one for the south The south was built out and established, and then there may be a separate one for the north, and I don't know how the master works.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions?
Yeah, I got one more. The age-old traffic question. I know it's already been discussed ad nauseum. The turn lane and the expansion on Clark Road. Do you have a time frame on that too? 'Cause I know they're building houses like crazy over there, and I know they're going to be doing some widening in the turn lane on Clark. Is there a time frame when that will be completed?
The turn lane on Clark?
It wasn't there going to be an expansion, like an extension of the turn lane from Clark to
I think he's
Ocoee,
talking
Clark?
south of that, probably by Arden Park South. Was there a turn lane that's supposed to come in there, or?
Wasn't there going to be an extension or make one like a little bit wider that we've discussed in the past?
No, the only other improvement out there with so Arden Park, as part of its transportation review back in early 2000 and commitment, was to dedicate right-of-way and construct portions of the Clark Road extension, which is facilitating. It also had a provision where it paid $250,000 towards, but it was not tied to a future re-signalization of Claricona, Ocoee, and Clark Road. Since the adoption of Arden Park, the county, back in 2008 and 9, widened Claricona, Ocoee Road, and the signal was adjusted for that four laning in new alignment. So the Arden Park PD has paid the mitigation money, the $250,000, and it has constructed Clark Road extension. There was a provision for Oak Trail Reserve and Arden Park where the city could ask them to construct, it wasn't required, but could ask them to construct a widening of Clark Road from Claricona, Ocoee south to Orchard Park.
Right, okay.
And so going back when we started back with the revisions to the PD for the school, we were not ready at that time to ask for that commitment to be made. We are under negotiations. Right now, we are looking at some options like that, but I'm not able to present anything tonight for that. But they are relieved. They just had a final inspection walkthrough today for a grand opening, ribbon cutting Thursday. They will have met all their obligations.
Thank you.
Okay, additional questions? I know the applicant and representative of the engineers here. Do you need, are you looking to say anything at this time, or hold comments until you have questions, or?
Ben?
I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to open the public hearing, and only because we did have a question that's probably pertinent to it, I'm going to read the one item that we have gotten as far as an email. I should mention that if anyone else has any interest in emails or calling in, the phone number once again, 407-554-7118, or an email at citizens@ocoee.org. And there was one that came in about 5:30 this afternoon, so I'm going to read that one here. And as a homeowner in Arden Park North, I am writing to express my concerns with allowing Lennar to build an additional 67 homes as part of Phase 6, particularly since this was not originally part of the plan for the Arden Park North, and due to issues the homeowners have had with Lennar. With the addition of 67 more homes, what does Lennar plan for our amenities? Currently, we have one pool. I believe the limit is approximately 100 persons. That has to be shared with not only over 600 homes already planned for the community, but also Arden Park South residents who are allowed to come and enjoy our pool. Arden Park North residents are not allowed to go to their pool. We also have a small community building that's supposed to be used for meetings such as HOA meetings, which is nowhere near the size capable of handling meetings for Arden Park North. Number two, I'm also concerned with the lake that is at our community and how additional tree clearing and construction could impact it. The surrounding areas has changed quite a bit due to the construction, with Lennar being allowed to destroy trees and lack of grass for most of the past year. Our lake level has risen considerably for the past several months and has covering over one of our sidewalks. The HOA president, who is a Lennar rep, said that because that portion has been turned over to the residents, Lennar will not do anything about it. It will be the responsibility of the HOA. And that,
That's why,
to
yeah.
your question there, yes, that according to this, the one has been turned over already. She also stated the rise was due to water table being high. When asked if there has been a study regarding whether the rise of water level was due to clearing trees and grass and from construction runoff, the question was met with a quick no, and then the HOA president moved on to another topic. As number 3 are their plans to leave some of the mature trees and/or create another park there. The portion of Arden Park North that was built prior to Lennar taking over has 2 wooded parks incorporated within the neighborhood. Since Lennar has taken over, it has added exactly 1 park, which contains very minimal trees that were planted after the fact rather than leaving the mature trees that were there as the other parks utilized. If allowed to build Phase 6, it would be in keeping with the neighborhood if Lennar was required to keep some of the mature trees. Number 4, Lennar has a history of not addressing concerns of its residents, and I'm not sure if this should be allowed to build more homes until they can show that it takes responsibility for the homeowners more seriously. The HOA, led by Lennar reps, did not address resident concerns regarding construction traffic and the gate being open during the day. The residents had to resort to getting city officials involved in handling our concerns. Thanks to meeting with city officials and Lennar management, we were able to address those concerns, but it should not have had to gone that far. Based on the above, unless there are plans to include appropriate amenities for the size of the community and/or a wooded park with mature trees, as well as actually addressing concerns of its residents, I would ask the Planning and Zoning Commission not to allow Lennar to proceed with its planned use for the 15.33 acres. And that is from Sarah Smith. Okay. All right. And with that, do we have anybody else who has called or, because I think that was probably more than a minute taking me to read.
Right, yes. No more emails or telephone calls were received.
All right.
All right, so I have some questions.
All right, so we have a question. Let me close the public hearing then and bring it back up to the dais. And then we'll let you answer some of the questions here in just a moment there.
So, this particular tract, this is where the school is gonna go? Is that what it was originally for?
It was reserved to be able to be a school. It was just over 15 acres, which is the size of an elementary school.
So this development was not part of the original PUD?
No, the original PUD was residential or a school,
Okay,
or
gotcha.
a school or residential.
And even with these, it's still putting you 35 to 40 houses under the,
Yes, and so in the original PD, this, even though it was afforded lots, it was shown as blank.
Yep.
So what we did, full disclosure, we came through the rezoning process to show that how the 67 lots would fit on the, so if you pulled up the plan unit development, you would see that there was a subdivision there.
is
We
all
did that
that,
beginning of this year.
is all that dry already? There's no wetlands there, nothing like that, right? That's affecting this water issue they're talking about with the lake?
It's high and dry. The Lake Sims, Lake Meadow, Prairie Lake are all closed basins. That means the water doesn't flow into a creek anywhere else.
Right.
And so the subdivisions apply a standard above St. John's, which is the 100-year storm.
100-year flood, that was my
Yes,
next,
yes.
okay.
So,
So I was gonna say, when you took this to the test we did for the Nicole property, right, that we were looking at last time, where it had the 100-year flood and things like that. So this has already met the 100-year flood, it's good to go.
it's designed to the 100-year, yes.
With these additional houses and not just the school.
Yes, the additional houses have their own stormwater ponds. Stormwater pond associated with it. They provided a plan. One of these has the drains are all, they all drain to the front. I think this is it. It's not showing up clear, but this is the drainage plan, all drainage to the front, and it's got pipes that come around and go back to the pond there.
So no matter what that would be, right, since it is closed basin, the drainage goes where it goes, the water's gonna be there regardless, right?
Yes, this is the highest, these phases are the highest point of the property. We've experienced, we have a park on Spring Lake. The water levels are high. They haven't met the 100-year flood threshold yet. The subdivision as a whole has a linear park features in the entrance. At the end, there's a gazebo park. It's got a pool cabana plus a separate building, which is comparable to what's in Weston Bay, which has a lot of homes. It's got a park being built in this track right here with a basketball court. It's got open space. It's got a trail around the lake. It's on the West Orange Trail. It's got open space within the section of Phase 5 and Phase 6. It's got a number of open space. And, I mean, you count all the lots. It's got Arden Park subdivision has 2 pools, multiple meeting spaces, multiple parks. When Lennar hands over the HOA to the residents, they can get with the other HOAs and do as they please.
I'm good, thanks.
All right.
So I have more of a statement than a question,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just, even though it's kind of hard because this is only one person's opinion of the project, I do think it, though, speaks to a larger issue that sometimes troubles me a bit, is that there's always, or there often is, not always is, but often is, a pull between the right of the developer to develop and the right of the homeowners who are now presently living in the community, many times which have taken 20, 15, 20 years, sometimes 30 years to actually develop. And so I just kind of want to go on record to say that I think that if there and when there are opportunities for us to kind of bridge that gap, that we try to do that. Now, I know it seems here that it has been more of a political relationship in terms of where that happens, but there may be some opportunity for us as we continue to grow and develop as a community, as we continue to try to be inclusive and diverse and equitable and all of those things in the way that we're planning our community, that we make sure that we provide and encourage the environment where developer and homeowner can come to some kind of understanding or agreement. Now, in this particular case, yes, I see, the perspectives of we have to put things in perspective. And I understand the overall planning objective here and why a planned unit development in the phases that in the last phase, really can't make a whole lot of massive changes or totally change the plan. But I just think we should try to set the environment where there's not so much conflict between what the developer is trying to accomplish and what the voices of the people who are living in the development want to see in their community.
Yes, and thank you for those comments. And I have personally attended 2 meetings with the residents in Arden Park recently under the Lennar ownership when they purchased it from Cal Atlantic, which was purchased from Ryland and from Standard Pacific. And with respect to what the developer did is they did the site clearing for Phase 4A and 4B and then built the road. The road was not required until the end of Phase 6. So they went ahead and built the road to help with any concerns with traffic, kind of slowed their momentum, and then went back and is doing Phase 5 and Phase 6 with that. But yes, we do. We have attended meetings to help provide factual information. And so just want to remind you, this is not a case of are the lots allowed?
Right,
They've been approved.
right.
Question for civil engineer, right? Were you involved in this project from 2016 till now?
Yes, I've been involved with the project from phases 4A, 4B, 5, and now 6, and Clark Road.
And to continue with what she said here, it's true, you design it, oftentimes we don't know how it works until people move in and recognize there are problems. It is true, she's only one representative of 300 and somewhat 70 homes. However, there are some issues with regards to water levels being high, this, that, the other. So given that you are in the last phase, have you seen this problem that she has there with the water level being so high that it's taking over the sidewalks?
We have been informed about the water levels rising. We know that this has been a wet year. The stormwater ponds, the stormwater retention ponds designed for the project have been designed to accommodate this proposed development, and they are all designed in accordance with city standards and St. John's River Water Management District standards. All the proposed homes are at least 7.5 feet above the highest possible predicted stage of the pond, so everything's very well protected out there, but like I said earlier, this is a closed basin, one of several in the area, so everything that drains eventually goes to these lakes.
So there's no, I understand that the homes are not immediately affected by this water
Correct.
level being risen. I understand that, so therefore we don't really have a whole lot of danger to worry about, but it is a concern. So any compensation, now that you're on phase 6, any ways that, have you looked at any other possibilities to eliminate some of that? Because it can only get worse. I mean, you're saying it's a wet year, but.
It can't get worse.
It's closed basin.
I mean, that's an open-ended comment. You have a 100-year flood line, and FEMA recently changed that in 2016 and 19.
I think
I think it was 19, the new one.
19, so it's, I mean, you can only design for so much. What part of what Member Williams is talking about is we clear phases, make sure all the infrastructure is in, and clear it a certificate of completion so they can start selling lots. It's just, I would say the way that the sales department has approached the sales hasn't jived with the best way it could be done with the other work going on in the subdivision. And so.
Exactly. That, I think that you hit it on the head there, that there's a disconnect. I'm sorry, I just started talking, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right, go ahead.
There's a disconnect because, you know, there seems to be a misunderstanding between what the homeowners are feeling like they're getting when they purchase in a community. Now, I'm certainly not one to remove the responsibility for the homeowner to do the research because, you know, all of us have heard of the lots in swampland and all. So I think that if you're a homeowner, you need to do your due diligence. So I don't want to remove that from the homeowner. But at the same time, you want to be able to trust that when a developer or when a representative of a developer says, hey, this is what it's going to look like, that you can somewhat count on that. So that was the point that I was trying to make.
And you gotta understand, and Ben wasn't a part of the early phases of this subdivision, but this pond has a 100-year flood stage and can have freeboard and can flow over into the lake. There is design parameters, but it's not going into the lots, and the homes are, as he said, a minimum, but they're generally 2 foot, 2.5 feet above. The finished floor elevation is 2.5 feet above the 100-year flood stage. So yeah, there may be some water over this, but it's not permanent. It's not a standard practice. It's back-to-back thunderstorm events. There's heavy rains, so.
I mean, I would say, I think everybody's comments so far are, you know, pretty spot on, but I would say is our job, right? I totally agree with, you know, this lady's email, and she's saying a lot there, but in regards to us, though, this meets the PUD. It's
Yeah.
less than the houses that are there. It meets the 100-year flood. It's 7 feet above the, you know, so I mean, to me, it meets our PUD requirements. I think this information probably needs to be forwarded on to the city commission when it goes to them, and she can bring up that stuff, or that person can bring up that stuff at that time if they have issues with the builder. But to me, this looks like it meets all the requirements that we're to approve or disapprove, so.
Right, and so let me just show you real quick, you know, there's no eyes out there in 2009. You know, there's just a bunch of eyes out there now, and you can see the lake fluctuates over the years. We've seen it with Lake Meadow, we've seen it with Spring Lake. We've had, and this lake is the best it's looked in years. So that's 18. It's a healthy lake.
That was helpful.
It's, the water's cleaner that's going to it than before with the advent of these 100-year ponds. And, you know, there's sandy soils around the lake in this whole area, this ridge. We have Forest Lake Estates. You'll see the pond for that subdivision is primarily on the south side of Ocoee. You rarely see a drop of water in that stormwater pond. The soils are good. Soils are doing what they're intended to do.
All right. Additional questions?
Yeah, I got another one. I know when this was, you know, back in the day, you know, it was either going to be homes or a school. But I know, I guess my question is would be the next local closest place that a elementary school or school would be built to service these communities?
There's one right up the road on McCormick, Claricona Elementary, that the school board closed after they told us they weren't.
I was gonna say, there's Ingram Road
There's
still
Ingram
has the,
Road. On the other side, Ingram Road can fit an elementary school and a middle school, which the school board had an approved middle school there, but decided not to build it. They built it.
Right, I know the issues with
And
Orange
so then we
County.
have Arden, and we have Crown Point. They own an elementary school site right across from the high school.
Okay,
And are any of the schools or on any of the land they own in the 10-year plan? No, they're not.
no, I know. Thank you.
Did this meet that new deal with the students and the?
No, it was
already grandfathered in.
Yes.
It already had the
Yeah,
concurrency?
that comes in with a land use change or a rezoning.
Gotcha.
And so if Phase 6 was only allowed to be a school, and the school didn't go through, and they had to come back and rezone it to add new lots,
Right.
it would have.
Yeah.
But because it was vested, it was approved for these certain number of lots years ago. It did not have to be tested. It didn't have to be tested for capacity. It still goes through concurrency and stuff.
okay. All right. So additional questions? If not, we are ready for a motion, and on this one, we only need one. And that's, so we need a motion on the large-scale preliminary final subdivision plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve project LS 2020015.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Lobneck, a second by Member Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carries? All right. Thank you very much. And that gets us to our last item of the new business, and that's item D, the Innovation Montessori School Phase 3. And Mr. Rober, we'll
Yes,
turn it right
thank
back
you.
over to you again.
Yeah, this is a large-scale preliminary site plan to add to the campus for the Innovation Montessori additional lands, which were annexed in, but under a site plan, add those lands in to how the site functions. It also is an approval to add, it's presently a K through 8, to add high school in an additional 288 students to that. So you're going to see a campus plan for, let me see, it's adding 2.5 acres, roughly it's a little over 2.5 acres. It will provide a second access onto Fuller's Cross Road and use of high school. So what they're proposing to do on this is Fuller's Crossroad is on the north. They'll have a new drive aisles parking. They're making the pad ready for an additional 2-story building, which would house the high school, which will be similar to the 2-story middle school building elementary and middle school building they presently have. There will be an on-site retention to handle the stormwater for the addition of the site, and it will provide access through and around this building. This is the corner of the existing 2-story. They'll have a drive out that comes around, so the site will work internally. You can access from Fuller's Cross or from North Lakewood and go through the site, which will help with the serpentining and how they do drop-off pickup. Presently, they are requesting on this pad, they'll make a pad for the 2-story building, but in the interim, to get going, provide these temporary portables to house and create the high school students, so as they age out of 8th grade, 9th grade, they can go until they get the building designed and constructed. There's the entrance point on the Fuller's Cross. They'll be connecting to potable water on Fuller's Cross. This project initially, and when it was created, it ran sewer from Worst Road up Lakewood all the way to its property, and it has a lift station, of which that now helped the Ocoee Village Center Plan pick up from there, and they'll run it north. For this application, this is a preliminary site plan for the high school, 288 students. This plan does help the overall functioning of the site by having an additional drive aisle and connection to Fuller's Crossroads, so you can exit and enter from multiple roads. It has its own stormwater pond, and that's about it. We have representatives from the Montessori school, and we have their engineer here. For any questions, this will go through after this final site plan review and approval, but this is for preliminary. I do want to just say we're recommending approval, subject to staff finalizing staff's comments on the commitment that they'll have this for the city commission, that the 2-story building will be similar to the 2-story building they have out there. If you've seen the site, it's really a neat, holistic looking site with steel glass, with solar panels. And then lastly, that we work out with the city commission an end date for the portables, so they don't stay out there forever. And that's it. Entertain any questions.
All right, now open to the dais for questions.
I was actually going to ask about the portables. I mean, I know it's a subject to a city commission meeting, but is there a time frame so they're not stuck out there for 5-6 years?
I've done 2 for churches. We did 3 for churches. Haven't done, well, public schools don't permit through us. So with churches, we've done 5-7 years on those.
Okay, I would hate to see this, like phase 3 be built with the high school, and then they leave the portables out there as kind of a detractor to the.
Right. The high school would go on top on that pad. It would go on top of the portable, so it'll have to be removed to build the building.
Additional questions? Yeah, I guess I've got one. They had said that they were going to use the portals while they were building the building so that they could keep the students in there, but if they're putting the pad, you're saying they're going to have to replace the portables on the pad to do
We'll let
that,
them
so I'm
answer.
confused.
How that,
Yeah, that's what's kind
how
of like.
that,
I was good up until you did that, because now you're taking the portables down to build the building. So wouldn't you need aren't you going to still need them? Someone needs to come up and talk to me. Come on up. Come on over. I was doing good until you're telling me that they're removing the portals to build the high school. So what are you doing with the students? I'm assuming you're going to need those portables while you're building the high school.
That's correct. And good evening. My name is Bob Ziegenfuss. I'm the civil engineer for the project. These things are fogging up terrible. So the portables will remain there as the building is constructed. Is there a pointer I can use? That's probably what this is.
Yeah, that's probably what that is there.
use the mouse because you can't see it on TV.
Now I gotta put my glasses back on so I can see. So you'll see the crosshatched area, and did the clerk get my presentation, the PowerPoint presentation? Can we put that up? Because I've got one that shows it without the portable, so you can get a better feel for the pad itself.
You loaded
The
on?
desktop. It's right on.
Oh, I see
That's it. Thanks. Thank you very much. So I'll scroll through. Obviously, this is the site. This gives you an aerial view of the site. The larger rectangular area is the original phase. And I guess the one that looks like the state of Idaho here is the expansion area. This gives you an overall view of the existing campus with the serpentine drives, with the new portion of the campus shown on the plan as well. But this is the plan I wanted to get to because it's kind of a nice clean plan that gives you a good feel for what that building pad, that cross-hatched area there would be of the building pad. And so now when you superimpose the portables on there, this is kind of a blown up area. You see that cross-hatched area that's left there. That is where the building will be constructed, is in that area. The area where the portables will remain there while that building's constructed. Once it's constructed, those portables will go away. The initial plan at this point is that area would become somewhat of an activity area for the students where the portable sits today, and would not be needed necessarily right away upon occupying that building. But that would be, maybe you call it a phase 3A of the project, or just a separate phase of this same construction project. The expected time frame for the portables is just 1 year, just next school year. The plan right now would be to break ground on the construction of the permanent building in October of next year, so that it could be ready by the following school year. So that they only plan to have it there 1 year. I know Mike mentioned 5 to 7 years. We certainly can be working with the city council on something much less than that. I think we might not want to kind of close right at a year. Things can happen during construction processes, we all know, during permitting processes and so on and so forth. We feel confident in the other permits that we have to attain here. The stormwater retention pond that we are constructing as part of this infrastructure phase, if you want to call it that. We're going to have that fully designed out for the built-out conditions, so there'll be no need to go back to the Water Management District at a later date to have them approve anything. The only approvals that we'll be seeking at that point will be from the city here. So the time frame involved with that permitting, we won't expect that to be a problem either. So we're pretty comfortable with that year time frame. And we'll be staying in close contact with them and their architect as they design that building for the appropriate coordination of that.
All right, thank you. Additional questions? All right, so then with that, I'm going to open the public hearing. And once again, the phone number, if you would like to call, is 407-554-7118, or you can email at citizens@ocoee.org, and we'll give it a minute there and see if we have anyone that has any additional questions. Oh, sorry, yes. Yes, come on up. Just, the only thing we ask is you fill out a form afterwards so that we've got on record there.
Yes, my name is Chris Adkins. I live at 606 Ridgefield Avenue here in Ocoee, Florida, in the Brentwood Heights subdivision. I'll make sure I do fill that out
Yeah,
for you, Mr. Keller. Yes. I had a quick question for the board. Do you see any direct correlation with these approvals of these types of schools within our city limits that are affecting any plans for Orange County Public School Systems to put any kind of relief schools in the vicinity? I know that we're not on their 3, 5, or even 10-year plan, and we're growing exponentially. I know we hear a lot about traffic, and but I think there's some other things we have to keep in mind for the well-being of our citizens, and I think education, enough seats in public schools is going to be an important part of that. And I was wondering if it's your opinion that this at all affects our relationship with the OCPS system in that regards.
I think in the past, there was more of a political issues with Orange County Public Schools, and that was part of the cause. I think most of that has been eliminated now. If you go with a standard public school that's one of the public schools, they tend to then say, okay, you've got seats because this is a public private school, if you will, charter school, if you will. I don't know that that's really the issue with Montessori, to be honest with you, because that one is more of a private. So I don't think that it's really an issue with that. I think it's just that with some of the charter schools we've had in there in the past, that they're looking at, well, do we actually need the additional, or is there enough seating here? So I think that's why we've had some slowness as to getting the school district to actually put us on the list there. And Mike, I'll let you comment in there as well. if it's...
Yeah, obviously, it kind of doesn't matter in a sense, and not that just what the school board feels, because they collect impact fees from every one of these single-family homes, and they have to collect those impact fees with the legislative intent that they would, if there's any service issues, that they will fix those service issues. That's what the impact fee, and that's what the capital charge is as part of what they had before. With high school, the Ocoee High School is not over capacity. There's not a capacity issue at Ocoee High School or Wekiva, which would be an adjacent under concurrency. But on middle school and in some of the elementary schools, there is a capacity issue. And the school board has collected millions and millions and millions of dollars from Ocoee developments. Now, they did refurbish and expand Spring Lake Elementary. They built the relief school on Hackney Prairie, but then they closed the school on Claricona.
Yeah.
Right.
But yes, so with the case that's before you tonight, with the expansion of the high school, there's not a capacity issue. There's not a high school proposed or needed. But they do collect the impact fees, and they will have to provide capacity representation with those funds. So.
Is there anything like the city council can do to like get Orange County, to help alleviate some of the, like the Ocoee Middle School or some of the elementary schools that are at or above capacity? I mean, I know we've talked about this for 6 years in the city, and it just seems like nothing happens.
Yes, there is. There's obviously staff level we discuss. We're a part of their capital improvement program, but that is a function of the district school board commissioner and the city that I know talk and have discussions on a variety of things. So.
Yeah, it's really something we probably need to get on our school board commissioner to say, hey, how come we haven't seen anything here in the time that you've been in office? How come nothing's moving in our district over in the Ocoee area? And maybe that'd be the way to go. But yeah, I don't see this school as being an issue, to be honest.
Well, I do appreciate it, and I know that this school isn't specifically going to impact it, but I just wanted to make sure that, from a standpoint of having two children in the public school system coming through the elementary, the middle, and the high school, that as we continue to grow, I hope that the board keeps in mind that we do need to make sure that we have capacity. And I was in this room when Orange County Public Schools were here, and we were asking them questions, and they specifically said, you have enough seats because of the charter schools that we have within the city limits, that they're not planning on doing anything soon. So hopefully going forward, if it comes up to another charter school, you guys might keep that in mind. That way, maybe that would be a way we could help with that problem with OCPS. Thank you, guys.
All Anything additional? With that, were there any calls or anything that came in?
No telephone calls or emails.
All right, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back up to the dais. Any additional questions from the dais? If not, again, we only need one motion on this, and so I'll entertain a motion for the large-scale preliminary site plan.
Okay, real quick, on this motion, I know we discussed the temporary housing, but can we add in the motion, just like as a reaffirmation, that these are gonna be temporary?
I think he said that.
I know he said it,
Yeah,
but if
you
we
can-
put it like in
yeah, you
record
can add
within the,
Yes,
in the motion.
Yeah.
yes.
Just so that, the city council can look at it and be like, oh,
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the large-scale preliminary site plan for LS 2020-011 with the stipulation that the portables are temporary and will be removed once the construction's over.
I second that.
All right, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Lomnick, a second by Member Mellon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carry. All right. With that, that takes care of the new business, and that takes us to the miscellaneous project status report.
Yeah, I do want to bring up the planning and zoning meeting for March 9th. Falls on the night of the election, the city's citywide election, and therefore Ms. Kathy and all the rest of the clerk's office will be busy and unable to provide minutes. So we're requesting to cancel the March 16th meeting. I don't want to make a commitment, but I am.
March 9th or 16th?
March 9th, March 9th. There are 5 weeks within March. In that fifth week, there's a lot of open, there's no other boards have meetings, so if something were to arise, we might be asking you for one March 30th or 31st or something like that. But to look at going ahead and canceling the March 9th planning and zoning meeting.
Is there do we need a motion for that, or is that, okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to cancel the March 9th meeting and move it to March 31st.
Well, don't move it yet. Let's just.
Okay,
I'm just
cancel
making
the
you
March
aware,
9th.
Okay,
Just
cancel the March
to
9th,
say,
okay.
that could happen. There are 5 weeks, but I don't want to officially move it.
Gotcha.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion by Member Mellon, a second by Member Forges. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. So, any other project status, or?
So we will, the final inspection had some punch list items for the inspiration. We had innovation, and we have the inspiration project on the south side of the turnpike off McGuire and Tommen. You'll see a brand-new public road. It looks like an access road, but it's a brand-new, it's a public road leading up to the site. Turned out really nice. Has a nice landscape median that was built by the developer. In that site, they'll start building townhomes. They'll have some commercial going up as well. We are finishing out the 400,000 square foot building McCraney built, 409,000 square foot building in the Ocoee Industrial Business Park, not Industrial Park, the Ocoee Business Park. And, excuse me, the intersection improvements at Fuller's Cross and Ocoee Apopka are underway. You'll see some other activity on parcels around that. The city is logging some of the city-owned land adjacent to those areas. So there's not a development proposed yet, but that's what that additional activity is. You'll see where they cleared the right-of-way, and then beyond that, you'll start seeing some openings and some logging.
They got some beautiful trees off of it, too.
Yes, there's
man.
still a lot of trees
That
remaining.
one trailer was heavy. Where's my Sonny's at, Mike? Where's it at?
The site plan is finished for Sunny's. Now we're finishing the site plan. They're gonna go develop the rest of that property out pad ready. So we're just finalizing some comments with the engineer on the rest of the site. Met with Sunny's before Thanksgiving, and they're ready to go.
You know where they were proposing to put the Firestone there next to the bank?
Yeah, on Silver Star Road.
Yeah, what is, they did some sort of infrastructure?
That was a laydown yard. There's a public utility project,
Oh.
and that was part of where the contractor was able to secure a lease for a temporary laydown yard.
Yep.
Yes, I had residents call, it was turned down, how are they building it?
Yeah, that Firestone got killed too, I
It's a
believe.
utility, yes, it did. Yes, it did. So, the city center, another road, which is a public road, the Main Street, realignment from Blackwood all the way through to Blueford. However, we're gonna have to keep that road closed because city center still has their vertical construction. It's a construction entrance. So we've got some new roads within the city, we've discussed earlier, the Clark Road extension, which will be opened. So we've got some.
Do you know if they're gonna put a golf cart path or something like that from city center to meet up to like the side of the cemetery to get into the park area, or?
No, there's not a plan to do that. There is a plan to make Blueford Avenue from Old Winter Garden Road all the way up and meet up to Orlando, to have it all look the same. So you have the wide walks along there, but there's not internally. Now, the next phase of City Center will be on the north side, which touches the cemetery, and some of that can be looked at.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be a great idea to have, some sort of, since it's golf cart friendly, through that part of town, to have a,
yes, well,
where you
our
could hit the
cemetery is squeezed. It's got some room outside. The fences are not on all the property lines.
Right.
We are having some cemetery issues that we're looking at with access and expansion, and so, but we can look at that.
A golf cart access all the way to your Sonny's barbecue.
It's not gonna happen.
Golf course.
You gotta cross McGuire for
You'd
that
have to
one.
put a bridge over Colonial.
That sounds like an idea. There you go.
I had talked about that once upon a time, but it's rather expensive to do because you have to make sure you meet the ADA requirements and all that other stuff there, but yeah.
And I didn't think to print this out. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it up, but our park campus plan, City Hall complex and all of that received won an award with the Florida Planning and Zoning Association, the Outstanding Development Award. So
Very good.
we got some recognition on that. That's it, Chairman.
Have you heard anything about the Orange County, that school, that, was it the trade school? Did that get put on hold or postponed, or?
As part of the discussions the city, upper city manager, commissioners have had with them, that was temporarily put on hold. The funding was not redirected. The funding is there. It was just a, whoa, let's see what's gonna happen here.
And do you know a time frame for City Hall, the new City Hall?
City Hall will be open April of 2022.
Okay, anything else? Anything else for the good of the commission, the committee? If not, we will take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a
Everybody
motion by Vice Chair Lomnick, a second by Member Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good evening, you all. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah, oh my gosh.
That's right. No more meeting for this year. You're
Yeah,
right.
because this is the December meeting.
This is the December meeting, correct?
Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa.
Very true. Happy Kwanzaa.